You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner, and you're listening to Mark of the Maker. This is I'm not going to call them mini-sodes anymore because they'll end up being at least half an episode long. So we'll just call it our latest episode. So we'll get into this in a minute. I'm here with Mr. Sean Kendrick. How are you, man?
I, too, enjoy semantics.
Yeah. So Sean and I are going to record something here that's kind of fun. We've been working through a bunch of scheduling issues and other technical issues, you name it. We've had a bunch of issues. So hopefully we're over the hump. Sean and I are going to record something here, get it out to you, and we're working on some other cool stuff coming up. So before we start on this thing, we need to thank our patrons. These are people that support us through patreon.com, patreon.com. You can go there, search for Mark of the Maker, look on our website, whatever. We'll get you there, and then that's a way for you to be able to support the show if that's something you're interested in doing. You don't have to, but it helps us out for sure, and we want to be very clear in our gratitude to our friends on Patreon who help keep the lights on around here and keep the show moving. So thanks all for sticking with us and for supporting the show. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, folks. I mean, you have no idea how much it helps keeping this thing rolling forward, what you guys give. And it's humbling. Thank you.
All right, we got to thank one of our sponsors, Sean. We got two of them. You want to hit one of them?
Yeah, I'll hit the first one, and this is my favorite sponsor. This is George at American Metal Exchange. George is not only a handsome man, but he's a fair man. He wants to give you the finest exotic materials at the fairest prices. If you name it, George probably has it. You want mokutai? He's got it. You want zirkutai? He's got it. You want dark tie? He's got it. You want some of that sweet, sweet Damas steel? Oh yeah, he's got it. So why don't you guys head over to amxinc.com and tell them Sean sent you when you place that big fat order. That's amxinc.com, amxinc.com.
Did you say he was handsome and fair and handsome?
Oh, yeah. Fair as in he'll do proper by you.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
He has a dark European complexion. There's nothing fair about that skin.
Yeah, it goes with the handsome part that we hit a couple times. It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And our other friends that are sponsoring the show here lately, because it's coming up quick. I say that because I know Birch is over there sweating bullets. Coming up quick is the New Orleans Custom Knife Invitational. That show's happening on Saturday, May 6th in the French Quarter of New Orleans. So pretty cool sounding show. I think this is the first time they're doing it. It's on the Creole Queen paddle wheeler, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, that show's happening on May 6th. It's an invitational, so I would expect people to bring the heat to this kind of show. I know Michael certainly is. He's got some crazy-looking pieces he's been working on. They do still have passes available, so if you want to check that one out, it seems like a great spot to do it, right? Good food, good music, lots to do, and a cool knife show with all the dressings of a typical invitational. So definitely go check that out, and thanks to Matthew for his support of the show.
Yep, thank you, man. And to be honest with you, I'm not doing it this year, but if they do it again, I'm tempted just because I want to go tour the cemetery where the Misfits got arrested in the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
Fun fact, the singer from I Hate God was with them when they got arrested.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yep. He wrote for a local punk fanzine and ended up hanging out with them after the show, and they all ended up at that cemetery and got their asses arrested.
Wow. Very interesting. Punk fanzine, dude, you're throwing me back.
Am I dating me?
My head is swimming. So many fanzines. I had a huge pile of those things. There's a really cool movie, a documentary that a guy produced, and it was released a year or two ago, called Dope, Hookers, and Pavement, the story of Detroit hardcore. And it laid out the whole story of how the Detroit hardcore scene came to happen and a bunch of the bands that were part of it and interviews with a bunch of the people who were part of it. And that's really cool. And it was a fascinating documentary. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. And then,
Oh, yeah. I'll put that on my must-watch list.
yeah. And the dude who made the movie was a fanzine writer in that time, right? Because he was obviously part of the scene. That's how he came to be so turned on to do the movie. He wrote a fanzine with a friend, and he recently published a book that's got every episode of their fanzine all collected into one book, which is also awesome. I got to order the book from him. Good times from a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago anyway.
Not to me, man. I've been listening to a bunch of punk history podcasts for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And
Oh, yeah.
it all seems like just yesterday.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I was listening to the Dead Kennedys like 2 hours ago, so
Right.
it was less than yesterday.
Very nice. My college roommate and I did this punk show on our college radio station, and Dead Kennedy's Too Drunk to Fuck was our intro music.
Ah, nice.
So we'd roll that tune and then fade it out and start talking. So that was pretty fun.
Hell yeah, man. Great line. You're giving me head, but it's making it worse. That's poetry.
That is.
Poetry.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't admit this. His sister was way into the punk scene in Cleveland. This dude is from Cleveland. And his sister was way into the scene too. And so she would record local, like weird time of day punk radio shows, because they always got scheduled on weird times of day.
Cool.
And she would record those shows in their entirety and send us cassettes. So we had these big pile of cassettes because we didn't have an easy way to get a bunch of music, right? It wasn't like engineering school had a deep punk library. And so we may have helped ourselves to some media trying to wake the engineering masses, but it was a good time.
Definitely.
So there you go. Wayback Machine, Sean. Now we're going into the future machine, right? That's what this episode is about. Future.
Quite possibly the nerdiest episode we will ever record. And that's saying something.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, but
Yeah, right.
We've done some pretty nerdy shit. So this fits right in, I guess, right? We're right on point. So
we're on brand. How about that?
On brand, exactly. Okay, Sean, so the kids at home, explain to them, we're going to talk about Warhammer 40K.
Yes, we are. And I mean, it's a kind of recent passion of mine, but I've taken to it pretty hard. Like, I don't play the tabletop game. I don't have time for that. I don't paint minis, but I do enjoy the books from the Black Library. And that's all the lore that goes along with the tabletop game that gives people a reason to buy and game with these little plastic figures.
Okay. So the core thing, maybe the root of it, is a tabletop game.
Yeah,
like
tabletop strategy game.
Strategy game.
You've got little plastic figures and dice, and
right.
You fight against each other.
Yep. And then the books are kind of part of the sphere, because I'm realizing there's a sphere. You sent me this badass video a while back, and that was someone's attempt to kind of bring some of a scene from one of the books to life, right? Like a tribute.
I'm pretty sure that's a wholly original creation on their part. It was never listed as to it being from any book. They just kind of put this story together and started doing it. And for the folks who are listening, what I'm talking about, if you go on YouTube and just search Astartes 1 through 5, and that's spelled Astartes, you'll get a video. It's about 15 or 16 minutes, and it's just glorious space marine action that this fan put together, and they did such a good job that Games Workshop, the owners of Warhammer 40K, hired them as a digital artist.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is super well done. I mean, you could tell they really, really gave a shit about what they were doing.
Yeah. It's like there's fan art and then there's stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, for real. I mean,
next level fan art. Maybe next universe fan art.
And I mean, that series of 5 short videos, which you can find them collected all into one long episode, has turned I don't know how many people onto Warhammer 40K.
Yeah. No, it was excellent. Okay, so what we're talking about is stuff that takes place in the year 40,000. That's where the 40K comes in. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. Well, we're also going to talk about some stuff that takes place in the year 30,000 because that was a very fortuitous year for the galaxy also. But
Okay. Ancient times, as it were, in Warhammer 40K.
that's not even ancient times. I mean, seriously, it goes back farther than that. But
Yeah.
that was when in the year 30,000, a lot of shit hit the fan all at the same time.
Okay.
But 40,000 is where our primary focus is.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into what the difference is and why one is important to the other.
Okay.
You know, we'll try to be a little linear with it.
Got it. So super future sci-fi, but
very dark, very grim, very brutal. One of the jokes in the community is there are no good guys in 40K.
there you go.
Everybody is an asshole.
Right. So if you're figuring out who to root for, it's just which nasty tendency do you identify with?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I got it. Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. So dark, futuristic, and kind of a weird, and I think you're going to explain a little more about why, but there's like a funky, ultra futuristic meets medieval almost kind of angle to some of the stuff. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Where we are, like in the year 40,000, humanity actually hasn't developed any new technology in about 15,000 years.
Yeah.
There was a dark age of technology, and AI tried to conquer humanity, and then, you know, humanity eventually won out, but technology left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and now, you know, it's like, hey, we're not going to develop any new shit. Any thinking machine is heresy, and it's got to be destroyed, and we're going to take the technology that we still have, we're going to maintain it, and that's what we're going to use.
Got it.
Like if you see a piece of art of like a huge starship, that starship's probably 15 to 20,000 years old.
Crazy.
Yeah, everything has a little bit of entropy about it. You know, everything's kind of repaired.
Okay. So since we're a knife podcast, anybody who's still with us, they might be asking themselves, well, why the fuck are you guys talking about this?
Because weapons. I mean, in the future, there is only war. And edged weapons are still a very big part of it. Some of them are pretty advanced. All of them are very brutal. And man, some of them are just like one of the ones I'm going to talk about. It's a fucking dagger.
Right.
It's not sci-fi. It's not futuristic. It's just a fucking dagger.
Yeah. Nice.
And we'll get to that.
All right. So kind of off in that fantasy knife vein, maybe very much off in the fantasy knife vein, but along the storyline.
I mean,
yeah.
The dagger I'm talking about, it would be an effective combat tool today. It is one that we as humans right now with the technology we have could produce easily.
Right. Okay. I like it. Well, now that we got the stage set, I think I'm a Warhammer 40K noob, so I'm going to try to bring some listeners along with me who are not familiar because I know nothing about this other than the video that Sean sent. So
yes, let me put my nerd in you.
Okay. Just the tip, just the nerd tip.
Oh no, man, that ain't how it goes with 40K. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that right now.
I understand. Okay. All right, let's go. What do we got?
All right. So, man, in the future, there's only war. Mankind is expanded out through the galaxy, and the emperor of mankind, he's kind of the opinion either you're with us or you're against us. And by being with us, that means you take the fucking knee and you do what you're told. And if you're against us, we're going to fucking eliminate you from the galaxy and try to make it as if you never were. And as you can imagine, there are some races in the galaxy who are like, well, that's some bullshit.
Right.
So you have that aspect of war, and then you also have the Empyrean, which is kind of void in time and space, and that's where the Chaos Gods live.
Okay.
And the Chaos Gods, they have their own kind of thing. They just want to see the downfall of everything going into darkness, and the void within the Empyrean encompassing the entire universe. They want everything to be in darkness, and they want to have control of everything. So the humans are fighting against them too.
Control and religion and some mixture between the two, kind of.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of religious aspects to it, like the Emperor of Mankind. He's known as the God Emperor. And it's kind of funny because he started out and he was like, religion's a yoke around humanity's neck. You guys shouldn't be worshiping anything. We should just be taking care of our business and believing in ourselves. And a lot of people were like, you're smart and you're super powerful and you're super huge and you're saying that. So maybe you're a god. And he's like, no, that's not what the fuck I'm saying at all. And they're like, that sounds like something a god would say.
Right.
So now the emperor's worshipped as a deity across the universe.
Gotcha.
Although he very much would not want that.
Yeah. So we're starting to get the lay of the land. Okay. It helps a bunch.
Man, there's a ton of lore. I mean, anything that I'm giving you is going to be a very, very, very annotated Cliff Notes. We're going to do the best we can, but, we'll try to set up as much info as I can give you reasonably to get us started on our little journey into the weapons here.
So the Warhammer sphere is quite broad, right?
Indeed.
Mixed media, books, video, fan art, plus the game and other stuff, right? But even
video games, cartoons. There's a Warhammer Plus TV streaming channel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so just the books alone, I think we were talking about this with Tom. I mean, I pulled up like a Wikipedia entry on Warhammer books, and it was like 100 or hundreds of books, maybe.
Hundreds. Yeah. I think that there are well over 350 novels in the Warhammer 40K Black Library alone.
Wow.
That's not counting short stories and such.
And these aren't things that are necessarily produced by the game maker, right? These are...
Oh, no, 100%. If it has Black Library printed on it, it is authorized and published by Games Workshop.
I gotcha. Okay.
And they frown upon anybody using their IP.
I got you. Okay. So it is their IP, but with a bunch of different authors, it sounded like?
Yes. They have a ton of in-house authors. And I mean, like, hell, just a month or two ago, they held basically what was open auditions to be an author in the Black Library. They do that every now and again. They're always looking for new talent to write for them.
Wow. It's a big deal. Big enterprise.
Yeah. Man, a lot of the fanboys give them shit, but they're a large company. They're a publicly traded company, and they do more right than they do wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't be successful without having haters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and these same motherfuckers, they're talking shit all day, but then they're going to go spend their whole Sunday at their local game shop playing this game. So how much don't you like it, guy? Huh? If you really hated it that much, why don't you sell your fucking little plastic figures and get out?
I think incredibly common to every hobby that I've been involved with.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunately.
Including knives, you name it, right? So, Okay. All right, so let's dive into this, man. Weapons. Give us an example. What's the first one you want to hit?
All right, man. The first one we're going to talk about, I just love it for the sheer fucking brutality of it, are the chain weapons. And these are basically like swords, axes, halberds, naganatas. I mean, if it's an edged weapon, you name it. But it has an adamantium tooth chainsaw bar for the blade. And
okay.
And adamantium in Warhammer, I mean, it's nearly impossible to dull or break, and it'll cut through just about anything, and it's just brutal. I mean, the only way you can stop a chain weapon is if you clog it with gore.
Right.
And then it still works as like a regular sword.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I've sent you some pictures. Should I resend these?
No, I got them. So I'm looking at a black and white.
All right. So since we're going to talk about chain weapons, man, we could go on and on. There's all kinds of folks who use the chain weapons. They're really common. They're really cool, really brutal. I'm going to talk about one chain weapon in particular because there's all kinds of named weapons. Like, a weapon that has, like, how Excalibur is a named weapon.
Right. Weapons with provenance.
Yes. All right, so the one I'm going to talk about to illustrate chain weapons, it is a chain axe, which is a battle axe with chainsaw teeth where the edge of the axe would be. And the name of this weapon is Gorechild, and it's wielded by a dude named Karn the Betrayer, and he is the champion of Khorne, the god of blood and death and skulls.
Wow. You're gonna have to share these. You're gonna have to share these pictures for people to understand what we're even talking about, right?
Oh, I most certainly shall.
Yeah.
Well, Karn is a space marine. Space marines are they're demigods, basically.
Okay.
They're virtually immortal. They stand on the average about 8.5 feet tall. An enormous amount of muscle. They have genetic modifications that make their bones denser, harder, and stronger. I mean, they're now unkillable unless you're another space marine or you've got like some kind of heavy support. And as far as that goes, among space marines, Karn the Betrayer is a man among men. He is just known for his brutality in close quarters combat. That's why he's the champion of Khorne. Once again, Khorne is the blood god. He sits on the skull throne in the temple of brass. And the thing is, Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows as long as the blood flows. He feeds on war. He feeds on death. He feeds on just the flow of blood on the battlefield.
Okay.
And Karn is his dude. He's like, I've seen your work, buddy, and you've got potential. I want you to come work for me.
Right. Right-hand man style.
Yeah.
So these guys are human?
Man.
I mean, modified
post-human?
Yeah, there you go.
Definitely post-human. I mean, they've got 3 lungs, 2 hearts.
Wow. Okay.
What's called the progenoid gland and gene seed. And the progenoid gland, I mean, it helps their body accept the gene seed, which is how their whole genetic modification begins.
Wow. So what about these guys relative to the Emperor that you talked about?
The Emperor created the original Primarchs, and the Primarchs were 18 warriors that the Emperor genetically engineered to each be an aspect of his personality and a portion of his power.
Okay.
The Space Marines each have a small amount of the gene seed from one of the original Primarchs.
I gotcha.
Each of the Primarchs has their own legion, and each of the Space Marines in that legion will have some of the same genetic traits as the Primarch of that legion.
Okay.
Like Karn, he was part of the World Eaters Legion, and they were headed by a dude named Angron, the Red Angel. And Angron's story is kind of a tragic one. Angron, all the Primarchs got launched into space before they were really born because Chaos was like, hey, we see what the Emperor's doing, and fuck this shit. This is going to fuck up some of what we're trying to do. So they scattered all the Primarchs, and the Emperor had to go looking for them. And Angron ended up on a world dominated by an elite ruling class that liked gladiatorial combat. They found Angron, threw him in the gladiator pits, and had these things implanted in his skull called the butcher's nails, and it makes it so that you cannot feel any kind of real emotion or have any kind of serotonin or dopamine dump unless you are murdering and killing.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, Angron, he's this basically demigod, and they just implanted a fucking kill machine into his brain.
Right.
And so, I mean, he didn't get the greatest start among all the Primarchs, and he is one of the Primarchs who eventually turned traitor and turned against the Emperor.
Okay.
Here, actually, let me send you a picture I grabbed of our dude Angron here. Angron, the Red Angel, the son of Nuceria. And Angron, he went from being a Primarch to being a demon Primarch. He bowed down to Khorne eventually, and Khorne was like, yeah, I like what you're doing too, buddy. I got some special plans for you. And turned Angron into a big winged demon.
Yep. All of that.
Mm-hmm.
In that picture for sure, right?
Oh, dude, the weird looking kind of straight edge sword in his hand.
Yeah.
Cool story behind that. All right, so there was this other demon who set up this gladiatorial combat arena in the void and was just basically whomping ass on all these tomato cans, just like, oh, and he starts going on about how I'm the greatest gladiator that's ever been. Now, Angron's already a fucking demon, and he has been a fucking gladiator. And he's like, oh no, I'm taking that shit very personal. So he goes to the demon's arena, walks in with a fucking iron bar in his hand, beats the demon to death with it so bad that the demon's soul becomes trapped in the iron bar and forms into that sword.
Ah, I like that.
And you can put that in the file marked some of the most metal shit you're going to hear today.
Exactly. That's exactly the first thing that I thought. That sounds like a great metal tune.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, the guy we're talking about, Karn, he has a little bit of Korn's gene seed, or Angron's gene seed in him.
Okay.
He carries the battle axe Gorechild, which Gorechild used to belong to Angron. Karn ended up with it. It's his now. And he basically just goes across the galaxy murdering. That is his raison d'etre.
Right.
Fucking spill blood and collect skulls.
Okay. And this picture fits with all of that, right? Lots of skulls, a huge so this axe that we're talking about, this chain axe, is like a mega-sized bearded war axe, really,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, battle axe is as good as I can come up with.
Yeah, with this chain running around at least the front edge and maybe part of the perimeter, right?
Yep.
Okay, it looks like it's got a spike in the back, although the spike seems wimpy compared to some of the rest of it, but it's probably not. So, chain axe, explain how the chain axe works. What powers it? What makes the chain go?
There's a promethium fuel motor on it, and it runs just like a chainsaw.
Okay.
Just with a really high output motor on it.
So in the stuff that you've been reading, is it a thing for the axe to run out of power in a battle?
Not so much run out of gas, but I guess it's happened once or twice. It's more common for it to, in big battles, it gets clogged.
Jammed up, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's just so much bone and shit in it, the chain jams.
Right.
But like I said, it's still useful as a sword then, just not as devastating.
Right. It's a really cool piece of art that you sent to black and white. It's awesome.
Yeah, the next one I sent, the color one, ain't bad either, and that's Karn in his element on the battlefield. There's a chaplain from the Blood Angels getting ready to try and get the drop on him, but Karn's like, that ain't how this shit's going down. I see you, and you're getting ready to have a really bad fucking day, buddy.
Yeah, he's kind of turning his head, picking up that he's coming at him, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really digging the whole skulls on chains thing that he's got happening.
Oh, I mean, skulls are his thing, man. The blood god Korn actually keeps a separate pile of skulls that are just the skulls Karn has collected for him.
Wow.
And it's huge. Like, he has a kill counter inside of his helmet, and it's already ticked well over 1 million.
Gee whiz. Okay.
And I sent you some pictures of a fan-made kind of resin and foam cosplay version of his axe, done pretty close to scale, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Maybe even close to scale based on some of the pictures, if the model were 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's badass looking, man. I love how there's like all the plumbing and mechanical features going on as part of that.
Yeah. Now, if you'll notice in the picture of Angron I sent you, he's got a chain axe there also.
Yeah.
The name of that chain axe is Spine Grinder.
Okay.
I think it took like a decade for the craftsman to make that.
Wow.
And then he showed up and asked if it was ready, and they were like, yeah, it's ready. And he goes, well, no, it's not. It hasn't tasted blood yet. And then proceeded to fucking kill him. And, then he's like, now it's fucking ready, buddy.
Right. Thanks for your hard work. Well, it fits with the description of the character, no doubt.
Yep. Which, I mean, the reason they call Karn the Betrayer is
It's in
before
the
that
name.
he was like Karn the Bloody.
Yeah.
But there was this one incident where he and his war band were fighting another war band from one of the traitor legions called the Emperor's Children, and they were on this kind of ice planet, and it was getting dark, and it was getting like really cold to where even a space marine couldn't stand it. And the World Eaters and the Emperor's Children started talking about, well, let's have a ceasefire until morning because it's getting cold. And Karn just goes fucking ape shit. And he's like, you motherfuckers think this is cold. You want to quit fighting because you think it's cold. He grabs a flamethrower and starts setting fire to his own troops and the other side's troops and just goes into a fucking kill frenzy. Thus, he betrayed his own people.
Got it. Not into the truce, clearly.
No. No, he took offense to that.
Yeah.
Like, you bunch of pussies, you bunch of mealy-mouthed assholes.
Wow.
Too cold to fight. What kind of shit is that?
Okay. Chain Axe is solidly in a category of some shit we would talk about on this show. No doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I wish I had some more photos of some of the chain swords. Like, there are big two-handed, double-edged chain swords.
Yeah.
That are just fucking awesome. Like the Space Wolves Legion, they have chain swords that have what are called kraken teeth instead of adamantium teeth, and these are actually teeth from a like Leviathan-sized sea creature that lives on their home world.
Ah.
They look really fucking cool too.
Yeah, I bet.
The chain weapons are just brutal.
Yeah.
A lot to like about them.
Right. Not only are they hacking through some shit, they're hacking through some shit with power assistance.
And splatter effects.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's a pretty common trope for somebody to be cut from their fucking collarbone down to their hip bone with one of these things in the books. It's not uncommon at all.
Right. No, that makes sense. Mechanized axe would do that to a fool.
Fucking A-right it would.
Okay. It's definitely giving us a flavor for the kind of action we're talking about in the books. What else you got, man?
All right. Next up, let's talk about power weapons. And power weapons, once again, same thing. It could be an axe. It could be a halberd, any kind of pole arm with a blade. And power weapons also go over to warhammers, maces, clubs. And basically you have your edged weapon. We'll focus on the edged weapon one. You have your edged weapon. It looks like a standard sword, but when you hit a button on it, it gets an energy field around it that is a molecular displacer.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a cooler version of a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like if you hit somebody with it, like say I hit you in the arm with it, your arm's going to come off before the actual steel of the blade ever touches it, because that energy field is causing the molecules to just come apart.
Check that out.
Yeah, and all of the power weapons are heritage weapons. Like mankind really doesn't know how to make them anymore.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they're all antiques. Most of them are named weapons in one way or another.
So maybe they're from before this dark age of technology.
They're from the heart of the dark age of technology.
I see. Okay.
When man was at his technological peak.
There you go. So let's talk about an example. Give us an example of one of these power weapons.
All right. The example I'm going to use is one of my favorite Space Marines, and it is a dude named Talos Valcorin of the Night Lord's Legion, specifically the 10th Company of the Night Lord's Legion, First Claw. And now, Talos is from a series of books called let's see. You can get all three of the books that he's featured in what's called the Night Lord's Omnibus. And I cannot recommend that highly enough unless you like reading about the good guys, because the are not chaos traitor Space Marine point of view, and as far as the traitor Space Marines go, the Night Lords are some of the absolute worst.
Okay.
Their whole thing was terror tactics. Their thing was, why should we kill 500,000 people when we could just get the royal family and torture them live for the whole planet to see while we skin them alive? And then the people are probably going to surrender and we'll save all those lives. And all we've got to do is skin 5 or 10 people.
Right. Strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But eventually their Primarch went crazy and ended up being assassinated, which, was it an assassination or was it a suicide?
Ah, right.
Because he had the power of foresight. He knew it was going to happen and he just let it happen.
Kind of suicidal, right? You know it's coming.
I look at it as suicide.
Yeah.
He let it happen. No, he knew that the assassin was there. He made it kind of easy.
Yeah.
And at that point, dude, he was crazy as a shithouse rat. He was kind of tired of being alive. He was really disenfranchised with everything because they may be a Chaos Legion, but they don't really follow the Chaos Gods. They're like, we're for ourselves, and if what you're if what you're offering helps our goal, so much the better, but otherwise, fuck you.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so this guy is in like a blue armor in this picture.
Yep, dark blue armor, usually with lightning bolts. Their helmets usually have skulls or bat wings. Their actual unit logo's a skull with bat wings coming out of the sides.
Okay.
White skull, red bat wings. Their armor, they actually refer to it as being in midnight clad.
Ah, I like that.
You know, dark blue. Oh, yeah, dude, they are so fucking metal, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Talos, I don't believe. No, he doesn't. They are really fond of, like, on the pauldrons of their armor, the shoulder portions of their armor, like skinning somebody's face and stretching it across the pauldron and using it as decoration.
Right.
Like one of the guys in First Claw, Talos' company, he has a cape made from the royal family of a planet.
Right.
And there's a little joke, and it was like, so his cape's the royal family of whatever the planet was, and they're like, so that cape belonged to the royal family of wherever? No, you don't get what I'm saying. That cape was the royal family.
Right. Yeah, I can understand your attraction to this. This is very Sean.
Dude, the Night Lord books, I don't think I can overstate how entertaining they are.
Yeah.
Because, man, all of them are just so fucking awful. But the author does a really good job of getting you to give a shit about these thoroughly fucking awful people.
Yeah, that's a trick, right? I mean, there's a talent to that.
Oh, huge talent. And I mean, the book ends on a super shitty note. And normally, under normal circumstances, you'd be like, well, yeah, those fuckers got what they had coming to them. But by the end, you're just like, no, oh, fuck, no.
Making you root for the bad guy. That's very much a technique, right? Or an approach.
Yeah, man. The Night Lord's Omnibus, the first book in the 3-book series, if you just want to try one book, it's called, I think the first book is Soul Hunter.
Okay.
And that's actually Talos' nickname that was given to him by the Primarch of their legion. The Soul Hunter.
Nice. And I can see the logo you're talking about, just kind of the very edge of it on the one shoulder of his armor with the skull and the bat wings and stuff. Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. And these images, go ahead.
Fear is their whole thing. They're like, fear is a tool. Fear is a tool to be used. But you were going to say.
I was going to say this this art that you're sharing with me, is this fan art, basically, like enthusiast art?
The first one I sent you is, the second one is actually some art from one of the Games Workshop books, I believe.
I got you.
So it's authorized.
Yeah. So this dude has a sword.
Yes.
That's where we're going, right? He's got a badass looking, like you said, it actually almost looks like a historical sword now, just in huge scale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, let's see. Talos actually took that off the corpse of a Blood Angel Space Marine that he killed. And now the Blood Angels are constantly, like, if he's around, they're like, hey, he's got that sword. We need to get that back because that's not his. And he just laughs and he's like, well, come get it.
Right, right.
And I mean, just a really badass double-edged sword with, the guard is gold angel wings with a bloody teardrop set into the center of it, and that's like a big ruby.
Yeah.
Runes all down the blade. And when he activates it, it'll get like a blue glow around it.
Okay.
Like a blue energy field pulsing around it.
That's way cool. This is the kind of piece Dr. Rachel would appreciate.
Indeed.
Very talismanic with the runes and all that kind of stuff, right? Is there any indication in the books about what the runes are about or what they say? Do they tell a story, I assume? Or
yeah, man, I'm having a hard time remembering right now. It's either very notable battles the sword was used in or the names of past owners of the sword, and I can't remember which it is.
Okay. Yeah, either one of those is cool, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so this is is an energy weapon. It's got this disintegration field around it when it's activated. That's pretty badass, and it looks like a ginormous sword.
Oh, dude, you got to consider Talos is about 8.5 feet tall.
Yeah, right.
And it is a large two-handed broadsword in his hands.
Right, for an 8.5 foot tall guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not the kind of thing either you or I would probably be able to pick up.
So I'm guessing that, in most of these pictures, these guys are two-handed stuff, right? They have some kind of rifle or gun in the one hand, and they have an edged weapon in the other. And I know that's maybe in part because of the stuff you're picking out, but it must be that some of these are more effective than others depending on who they're fighting. Is that the idea? It's not like, I think if you think about some of our historical stuff, yeah, edged weapons matter. Maybe they're slightly less important today because of the development and growth of firearms and other reach out and touch them kind of tools of destruction, right? Where in this case, maybe there's some other factors at work, right? Whether it's armor or other stuff that maybe you have to actually have both.
You nailed it. Armor's a big part of it. If you're up against another Space Marine, once again, unless you have something almost like a crew-served weapon, it's not going to be very effective against their armor.
Yeah.
A power weapon will go through their armor like a hot knife through butter, though.
I gotcha.
And, given enough hacking, a chain weapon can make it through the armor.
Yeah.
And part of it, sword in one hand, well, that's your CQC, and if you've got a bolt gun in the other, that's your ranged weapon.
Right.
So you're covering bases.
I like that. I like the idea that the way that the stories are laid out is that it retains that very personal angle that a edge weapon brings, right? Like
very much so.
You got to get close to make this shit work.
Oh man, there's some really good close quarter stuff in the Night Lords books specifically. Like one of my favorite fight scenes is I think it's in the third book, the final book of the trilogy. And it's just fantastic. This one champion for, I can't remember which legion he was part of, but this guy was a champion of the legion, which makes it, he's kind of the elite of the elite. He's got extra heavy, extra powerful armor and a big extra heavy armored shield and a big legendary style power hammer. And one of the Night Lords takes him on with just a chain sword.
Wow.
Yep. And it's just a really good fight scene.
So this other, the next picture that you sent, this is another concept or rendering of that same guy with the same weapons. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like the way the sword's pictured in this second one even better.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Lots more detail and stuff.
Yeah. And dude, I'm going to harp on this. If you're looking for a decent read and you want a fun, action-filled read about shitty people, Night Lords the Omnibus. You can get all 3 books in a collected edition for like $21.
Yeah.
And it's available on Audible if you're like Michael and Tom.
Right. Yeah, when we were talking last night, that's always Tom's first question. Oh, is it on Audible?
Well, for you Audible guys, a great amount of the Warhammer 40K stuff is available on Audible.
Yeah, that's real cool. Our knife maker friends will like it. Listen while you work.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance, check out the Night Lords books. They are super, super good.
Yeah.
And just brutal. God, I cannot... That it would not be possible for me to overstate how awful they are.
And he says that in the most kind and loving way.
Yeah.
Most endearing way.
10th Company, First Claw, man. Those are my dudes. They're my fucking spirit animals.
Awesome.
They're just awful, and I love them.
It brings a little tear to my eye.
It does.
Too funny. All right. So we got chain weapon. We got power weapon. Next one looks way cool.
All right. For the last one, this is actually from my favorite series of books in Warhammer 40K and one of my favorite series of books of all time. It's from the it's from the Gaunt's Ghost series of books. Once I started on them, I read all 16 of them within about 2.5-3 months.
Check that out.
I mean, I just devoured those things. They are so fucking good.
So explain Gaunt's Ghost. Explain what that means. What are we talking about?
Gaunt's Ghost, they're all just standard human, part of the human military. They come from the planet Tanith, and they're a kind of small unit, reconnaissance specialized unit. Really kind of, well, stealth. Stealth is their thing. It's what they do. They're good at getting into places and fucking shit up and then getting out.
And are these from that same timeline, the 40,000?
40,000, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that I've talked about is from 40,000, although Karn was around in the year 30,000.
Check that
He's
out.
At this point, he's 10,000 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, the Space Marines are virtually immortal unless you find a way to kill them through, combat or some such. Plus, Karn's been drinking that sweet, sweet chaos juice, and that really helps lengthen your lifetime also. So, there you go.
Okay, so I'm looking at these Gaunt's Ghost people. There's a couple pictures that you sent, and they look more like not 40,000 years in the future, at least from a gear perspective, right? These people aren't armored up the same way. They're not in what looks like any kind of potentially mechanized suit or, there isn't that stuff. So maybe that fits with the specialty in stealth, right? And maybe by necessity. I don't know.
No, they're just your standard grunt soldiers. There are millions of just normal soldiers.
I gotcha.
Like there are only so many Astartes Space Marines.
Okay.
You've got, 50,000. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I think your average company of Space Marines will have somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000.
Okay.
Whereas the Astra Militarum, the standard army, you're talking billions.
Okay.
Billions of humans in the army.
And they're scattered all over a bunch of planets.
All over the galaxy.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they are spread all over.
Right.
There's war everywhere.
So maybe that's the mistake I was making, was thinking that everybody looks like these Space Marines, but these are, like you said, no shit, crazy, super elite war machine kind of people.
Yeah.
Creatures.
Most average humans in the year 40,000 will never see a Space Marine in their lifetime.
Yeah. Okay.
Ever.
They're just finding a way to live in this crazy super post-apocalyptic nightmare.
Dude, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Everybody's just trying to survive.
Right. So tell me about Gaunt's Ghosts and what look like more traditional kind of weapons.
Yeah, I mean, they carry standard laser rifles for the Astra Militarum, what brings them to the little party we're having right now is their combat dagger. And it's kind of part of their ethnic pride. They refer to it as the straight silver dagger. And it's got about a 12-inch blade on it. Almost kind of a Renaissance dagger looking thing. Really long, really pointy, really sharp. But at the end of the day, it's still just a really big knife. There's nothing powered about it, no chain teeth, no power field. It's just a big fucking knife. But every Tanith soldier carries one.
Yeah, very cool.
And when they die, they're usually buried with their straight silver.
Huh. Yeah, like you said, dagger, but a big freaking dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almost short swordy, but not quite.
Right.
And it's kind of like, some of the bayonets from the early to late 1800s that were kind of like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite a short sword, but it was definitely more than a big knife.
Yeah, and in this picture with pretty traditional looking scabbard with silver fittings and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yep.
Ultra throwback for the year 40,000, but awesome.
Man, they put them to good use.
Yeah.
They've cut a lot of throats with them.
And then this person's carrying some kind of rifle. What she got on her shoulder?
What's called a laser rifle, and it's just a standard laser rifle. It's got a magazine with a battery charge in it. And you blast your laser shots until the battery goes dry, and then you smack a fresh battery mag in and keep going.
Nice, with a way cool bayonet. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Which the straight silver, all of the Ghost firearms rifles are modified so that they can use the straight silver dagger as a bayonet.
Okay. That makes sense. And then I assume the second picture you sent is a specific character.
Actually, both are specific characters.
Okay.
The first is Captain Tona Creed, and we meet her in book 3, and she's just a badass chick, man. I mean, she's just a hard ass. She's awesome. And then the second picture is actually Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt himself of the titular Gaunt's Ghosts. He is the leader of the Ghosts.
Okay.
And in the actual the first pic I sent you, you can see that he carries a power sword. That's a power sword he's got. He usually has a power sword and a bolt pistol. And when I say bolt pistol, I don't mean like what Sugar had in No Country for Old Men.
Right.
What they call a bolt pistol shoots a .75 diameter gyroscopically stabilized mini rocket that has a time delay so that when the rocket hits, it times that it's actually gone into the target a certain amount before it explodes.
I love that.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. And coming out at a rate that has many cartridges in the air still, casings. So high rate of feed rocket rounds.
Yeah,
awesome.
Like Mach 10 levels of feed.
Right. Yeah. So how does a seemingly normal human come to have a power sword? That I assume there's a whole story that goes along with that on its own.
Yes, and I don't want to spoil any of our readers, but Gaunt earns that power sword.
I gotcha.
Let's see, that one is called the Power Sword of Hieronymo Sondar, who is a person that from antiquity on this one planet.
Okay.
And the second picture I sent you is an artist's rendition of what he thought that sword would look like. And I thought that, yeah, I can live with that. That looks pretty bitchin'.
Oh, that is bitchin'. I actually like that better than the first picture. The first picture almost is like, it's very straight broadsword style, right?
Yeah, very straight broadsword.
The second one has got a sweet belly to it.
Like a kind of cavalry saber?
Yeah. With the guard and all that stuff. Awesome.
And once again, I can't recommend the Gaunt's Ghost books enough.
Yeah.
Especially once you get to the 4th book, hold on to your fucking hat.
Wow.
By that point, the author, Dan Abnett, has established all of his core characters. The first 3 books are just getting you attached to these characters and letting you know who everybody is. And in the 4th book, he's like, all right, guys, shit's getting ready to get wild. Hold on.
Yeah.
And then it just don't let up.
Nonstop.
Yep.
This second interpretation is cool because this is, again, 100% Dr. Rachel approved, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
a bird or eagle head, pommel, kind of like almost like cutaway basket guard sort of thing.
Oh, definitely.
Pretty.
Dude, I mean, it's got kind of a cavalry saber basket hilt.
Yeah. No, badass. I love it.
Yeah, I like everything about that one. Whoever the artist was who came up with that, kudos to him.
Well, you're making me want to start up my Audible subscription and go listen to some of this.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I've got Kane turned on to it, and Rachel's halfway through the second book in the Gaunt's Ghost series.
Oh, nice.
And she can't put it down. Every morning she gets home from work, and before she goes to bed, she reads, and she takes her book with her to work, and while she's on her lunch and break, she reads because she can't put it down.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and now, man, if you want some book recs and where to start and whatnot, hit me up. And actually, man, this goes for anybody who's listening. If I have intrigued you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, put up a post in the Mark of the Maker group, or, man, you can message me direct, and I'll try my best to steer you true. Because I know how much I enjoy this, and I can't help but think that more than a few of our listeners would get as much enjoyment, if not more, out of this universe as I have.
Yeah, lots of crossover. We've certainly seen with some of the other fiction stuff and references that we've made in past episodes. You see people coming out of the woodwork talking about this stuff, right? So
yeah,
it makes sense that this is going to ping right on point with some people. And I think that's true for all of it, right? That's one of the things I really, really enjoy about the Facebook group is for the people who have joined it and, end up participating in the conversation. I learn all kinds of shit in there, right?
Absolutely.
I learned stuff. I'm seeing stuff. People are talking about stuff and giving different opinions and perspectives, and that's super, super fun.
Oh, dude, we've got a super eclectic group of some really, really interesting and worldly people, and it's nice.
Yeah. I agree completely.
I mean, all kinds of posts. I'm like, I didn't fucking know that. Yep. I'm slightly less ignorant. Thank you.
Very slightly, in my case.
It's only going to help so much.
Right. All right, man. Well, thanks for walking us through that. I think this is clearly a topic you could go on and on about, but I like I like your approach to it, pulling together some different types of weapons that fit with all the kinds of shit that we've talked about, certainly in any of our fantasy episodes and other things. And who doesn't like stuff that has a story, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and man, I mean, so much of it is just quality entertainment.
Yeah.
Like the Gaunt's Ghost books I've mentioned, no question, I recommend those. Like, if you like military fiction, if you like military science, especially if you like military science fiction, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
And then if you like fucked up, just brutal shit, the Night Lords, man, I'm telling you. Damn, it's good. It is so fucking, I mean, it has no right to be as good as it is.
Right.
And maybe that's just me.
No, your enthusiasm is loud and clear. I love it.
Oh, I mean, no, I read the 3 Night Lords book probably in less than a week.
Yeah.
I just destroyed those. I was like, I got to see what happens next.
Right, burning through it.
And now I'm kind of sad when it's over. I'm going to wait a little while and read it again.
Right.
But it won't be the same because I already know what happens. Still going to read it again, though.
Yes. I've never felt so sad to see a bunch of assholes die violently.
Dude, I mean, seriously, that's exactly what fucking happens. No, don't do it. You were so awful, but don't.
Right. That's awesome.
And it's not like they're dying to get a redemption arc. They die fucking awful people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Awful people doing awful things, dying in awful ways. Maybe that's the summary.
Yeah, I do that now. There's your fucking cliff notes. At least for the Night Lords. Definitely.
Yeah. All right, man. We got anything else we want to hit in this one?
Yeah, man, if you guys enjoy this, if enough of you guys enjoy this, let us know. I would be more than happy to do a part 2 to this. This is something, I mean, I've read a lot of 40K books at this point, and I could easily talk about some other named weapons and chapters and Space Marine legions. And, I've had fun with this. If you've had fun with this, let me know, and maybe we can do another one.
Yeah.
If you didn't like it, let me know so we don't waste our time doing another one.
That's a God's honest truth.
We do this show, especially this one. I did this one for myself because it's something I wanted to talk about. But if it's something you guys enjoyed, let's talk about it again.
Yep, for sure. Sean just wanted to share the nerd.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely spreading the disease.
No doubt. No doubt. I thought it was very interesting. I definitely learned something. I didn't know anything about this. I knew I had heard of Warhammer 40K before. I had no idea what was going on or what any of it was about. So, yeah, definitely a good little taste. I feel properly infected, Sean. Thank you.
Oh, mission accomplished. And I know Birch has started the first of the Gaunt's Ghost books, and I think he's legit enjoying them. So,
okay.
I don't want to speak for him, and maybe he was just being nice.
Right. He's trying to humor you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or not. We'll get the real story. We'll get the real story. He's not very good about just humoring people.
Yeah, he is. I forgot who we were talking about for a second.
Yeah, he's usually brutally honest about that kind of stuff.
And that's why I love him.
Yeah.
I know where I stand with Michael at all times.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot to recommend it in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, and with the whole, all this AI buzz lately, right? Definitely starts to smell a little more like shit like this in the future. You never know.
Yeah.
It could be a prophecy, Sean.
God save us from the men of iron when they attack.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, I hope people enjoyed this one. Something different, but still kind of along the same sort of lines. We want to thank again our friends on Patreon. We're going to say high five to George, the ever handsome George Pelagonia and American Metal Exchange. Thank you, George.
And indubitably fair.
Yes. and Matthew and the New Orleans Custom Knife Invitational folks. Thanks for your support. So thanks everybody for keeping with us and supporting the show and for listening along with us because, that's why we do it. And giving us the opportunity to get together and talk about knives. That's very selfishly for us. The idea that anyone's interested in listening to us talk about knives is started out as kind of a funny thing and maybe is still even kind of funny at times, but
it's surreal at times still, man.
Yeah. But
anybody would want to sit in on our little conversations.
Right.
But it's humbling.
Absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah. We're very
Our fans are awesome. Yeah. I love it when you guys come up and say, hey, I listened to the show and X show told me about this and that really changed the way I looked at that. And that's fucking amazing. And that's why we set out to do this.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to be back on our regular cadence here soon, I believe, guys. So bear with us.
Yeah, it is really nice to get feedback from people. We have lots of folks come up to us at shows and other stuff talking about what they listen to. And there's definitely kind of favorites in the lineup or our catalog of episodes. But at the same time, I'm always amazed to have someone come up and say, oh, you guys did an episode about this or that. And that was the best thing I ever heard. I'm like, wow, awesome, right? The variety of stuff, the episodes that people kind of ping on is really, really interesting to me. So fascinating.
Dude, the most interesting. How many times have people came up to us and be like, you talked about this, but here's the rest of the story about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's always so cool. And you're just like, oh, fuck, really?
Right. Yeah, we want to learn too. This gives us an excuse to do so and gives us an excuse to get together and chat. Maybe a lot more than we might have time for otherwise or find time for otherwise. So I really appreciate all that.
Yeah, well, it makes us find the time.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day is good for all four of us.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for sticking with us and your support and for listening along. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate y'all.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birch tree blades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.